Hello everybody and welcome back to Tima Ballers podcast. Now this might begin to sound a little bit cliche, but what an exciting and crazy week of Premier League action, and I really do mean it this time because the title race is on. It is on. Man City draw away 1-1 to Newcastle and they are not top of the league. I mean, I don't know who's top of the league. I don't know. I think it's a red team, isn't it? Yeah, it's definitely a red team. Liverpool are top of the league. Man City have dropped down. Yes, they have. They're second place. That's what I call a title race. We've got a title race on our hands. Man City without Rodri, clearly not yet fully adapted, taking time to adapt. Obviously, this game they had Rico Lewis, Kovacic and Gundogan in that midfield. Gundogan having a very poor first half. So Man City struggling to get back into this full rhythm of things. And in the past 5 games, if we were to look at all comps, they've got 2 wins and 3 draws. So Man City in crisis? Nah, of course not. Of course they're not in crisis, but most certainly they have hit a little bit of a rough patch, which they usually seem to do in about autumn's time. I do think they'll absolutely run away with it at some point, in the sense that they will start to win more and more. But of course, we're not going to say they're going to run away with it. I'm a Liverpool fan. I want to win. Let's not be pessimistic and say it's going to be 5 in a row. No, it will be Liverpool number 20, hopefully. Or Arsenal. I don't know. Maybe Fulham will win it. Yes, Fulham will win the Premier League. Definitely. Come on, Fulham. Back to relevant topics now. Let's stop this title predicting madness and actually go back to the fact that Guardiola, becoming an attacker again, scored a great goal. Then shortly after, Anthony Gordon slotted home a penalty. I mean, you could argue that potentially Man City escaped a pen. There was a foul by Walker, but overall it was a game that was quite tight, and I think that the result is fair. I think 1-1 is a fair result. Both teams had chances, and credit indeed to Manchester City and both Newcastle for getting a point. I think it was a good result. I mean, it was a good result for Newcastle, certainly not. What am I on about? Of course it's not a good result for Man City, and we are talking about this, Man City who've done 4 in a row. Of course they'll be quite disappointed. But we've got an even more exciting match, and that is Arsenal's comeback win 4-2 Brighton at home. I mean, what, you can't script it, can you? You're 2-2, you're drawing, you presumably bottled it, you were up 2-0, you were cruising, you were chilling after goals from by Martinelli and Trossard. You thought that you were chilling, you thought it was all wrapped up, and then guess what happened? Leicester City, Justin, James Justin, what a guy, makes it 2-2. I'm like, yeah, Arsenal drop points, but no, indeed Arsenal make a comeback. I mean, they counted it as an own goal, but it really was Trossard, 90 plus 4, and then 19 plus 9, Kai Havertz with a very strange goal. It was a clearance that bounced off of Havertz into the goal, but nonetheless, they all count, don't they? There was a VAR check for it being offside, but in the end, Arsenal do win 4-2. Again, the scoreline doesn't tell you the full story. It was not a chill, relaxing win by Arsenal. It was on the wire. In the end, they got the win. So congrats, Arsenal. Fair enough. That is what I call mentality monsters. You concede a goal last minute last time. You go in this time. You don't give up. You keep fighting. Crowd doesn't give up. And there we go. You get the result. Congrats. The question is, can they really challenge for the league? Because obviously they are 3rd place now. They're level on points with Manchester City behind on goal difference. So there's certainly a case to be held that Arsenal are standing up to the challenge. They have overcome some big challenges. We know Rice was suspended against the Tottenham game, where they missed both Rice and Odegaard, and nonetheless they won away at Tottenham. It's always an impressive result. Then we had this whole Man City situation where Trossard got this extremely controversial red card, which I honestly think was ridiculous. I think it's a joke. Man City getting away with it every single time. Their players running up to the referee, arguing, even if it's not the captain. It doesn't make any sense. Doku, Bernardo Silva kicking the ball when nothing's happening. Haaland throwing the ball at Gabriel, barging into their players. I don't get it. It was very unfair, but nonetheless, Arsenal did come away with a point, which I think is a good result, given the fact that you were down to 10 men away to the team who's won 4 in a row, who's won a treble, the best team in the Premier League, and you go there and get a result, even with this red card. Then you could also kind of, there's definitely an argument to be held that, we're 6 games in, they're level on points with Man City, 1 point behind Liverpool title leaders. There's definitely a case to be held that they are in the title race, but personally, I would still say that they lack something. I don't want to I don't want to discredit Arteta or Arsenal. I think what he's done is phenomenal. To take that team from 8th, 5th, 2nd, and then 89 points is phenomenal. I will never belittle the importance of finishing second with a lot of points. As a Liverpool fan, I know the pain of finishing second with a high points tally and missing narrowly to Man City. I will always credit that. It's always very impressive to produce results of that standard. But nonetheless, I do think Arsenal are lacking compared to both Liverpool and Man City. I think you could argue they don't quite yet have this winner's mentality. To have the winner's mentality, you need to win something. So typically speaking, if you've won other trophies before, it does help. You know, we know with Liverpool, we won the Champions League in 2019, which then gave us that confidence and belief to then win the Premier League. We know in the past, winning the League Cup has been a good platform to then go on and win the league. And yet Arsenal have won nothing else apart from FA Cup in 2020. So 4 years, no trophies isn't entirely convincing. There's also a question of the experience levels. Man City, you've got Champions League winners, Premier League winners. Liverpool as well, you've still got World Cup winner Alexis McAllister. You've got Champions League winners, Premier League winners, Van Dijk, Trent, Salah, Robertson. You got a lot of phenomenal players there. Alisson, Gomez. You got a lot of talent there. And I think with Arsenal, it is going to be quite difficult for them to compete with these teams who have obviously a very high level of experience and winning mentality. And also definitely squad depth, always a problem. I think for Arsenal, it's not easy given the financial fair play restrictions to compete with the squad depth of Man City. Recruiting Sterling and Mikel Merino was fantastic, but you look at that midfield, you look at the bench, you get 1 or 2 injuries and you're really down to a very, very dangerous territory because you don't really have a natural replacement for Declan Rice or for Martin Odegaard. So then you start to really come down to people like Jorginho, who ideally shouldn't really be playing for Arsenal. He's not really good enough to be playing for Arsenal, let alone sometimes wearing the captain's armband. That's something I don't understand, how he gets the captain's armband, I think ahead of Saka, ahead of Saliba, ahead of Gabriel. I don't understand that completely. But nonetheless, overall with Arsenal, I think they do lack something. And I do think, as per my predictions, I do think they will come short of the title. I don't think they'll be far behind. I think they'll be within striking distance. But I do think it will be a close one. But ultimately, I don't think they'll win. And now we're moving on to a very interesting topic. As a Liverpool fan, I always laugh at this. Very relevant. It literally just happened. You might remember my last video was, I titled it United in Shambles. And it was a question mark. We'll remove that question mark because now it's an exclamation mark. It is most definitely not a question mark anymore. It is an exclamation mark. Man United losing 3-0 to Spurs at home. What a disastrous defeat. What a calamity for Erik ten Hag. I literally just made the video and was like, he might be the guy. You gotta give him time. I gave all these reasons why he should stay, why I justified it. And then Ten Hag's like, yes, bro, I'm gonna prove you wrong, man. Goes on and loses 3-0. Obviously, we can't blame it all on him. Bruno Fernandes sent off on the 42nd minute after a challenge of Maddison. A controversial challenge because there was I don't think there was contact with the studs. So that questions whether or not it could be a red. But in my opinion, it is a high challenge. It is reckless. It is out of control. Bruno Fernandes, what are you doing sticking your leg out? I don't care if you're slipping. What on earth are you doing? Why do you do that? Why would you do that? It doesn't matter if you make contact or not. The stupidity cannot be questioned of doing this as a captain. What are you on about, mate? What a stupid decision. I respect Bruno. I think he's a fantastic player. And the fact that you do have fans, even United fans, saying, oh, is he good enough to be in a league-winning team? Is he good enough? What do you mean he's good enough? How would... Bruno Fernandes is Man United's best player. He literally is. He's created the most chances. He's got more chances created than Kevin De Bruyne in these past few years. What on earth are you on? He's not good enough. Of course he's good enough. He's definitely a great player who is going through a worse patch of form, who has made some mistakes. But of course he's good. Of course he's a good player. What on earth are people on about? Then, obviously, we can talk about the fact that Erik ten Hag is nearing the sack more and more. It's now 3 defeats. We know that if it's 5 or 6, he will probably get sacked. Massive defeat. Again, massively discredits him. There are no excuses. Do you remember last time I made this video? And I basically talked about Erik ten Hag in and Ten Hag out arguments. And there were a lot of very convincing arguments to defend him. how can you defend it now? Where are the injuries? You know, you can't talk about the structure not being there. There's been there. You got your players. You got some signings. You've been able to use this game, right? This is not looking good. Ugarte starts the game. Mazraoui starts the game. Then Matthias De Ligt starts the game. Joshua Zirkzee starts the game. You've got Dalot, Martinez, Mainu, Garnacho, Rashford, Fernandes, Onana. Man, you can't be complaining. You can't be saying... I understand when you lose 4-0 away to Crystal Palace and you had 5-6 centre-backs injured, right? Including Luke Shaw, 6. Now you can't make that case anymore. You literally cannot make that case, unfortunately. And you can't really make the argument that it's taking time because this is your third year, mate. You can't be in your third year and be saying, oh, I need more time. I don't get this comparison to Arteta. Arteta's first season was a piece of a season where he won the FA Cup. The first full season was a disaster, 8th place. The second full season was improvement, 5th place. The third full season, right, started with Arsenal winning 5-5, I think, right? They started in brilliant form. They were top of the league. Arsenal pre-World Cup in that 22-23 season were simply unstoppable and they were phenomenal. They were absolutely phenomenal. So do not compare Arteta and Ten Hag. Please don't compare them. I don't understand these people comparing them. They're not comparable. What are you comparing? Throw the cups aside. You can't be 12th place in the league. 12th place in the league. 7 points, -3 goal difference. They could even drop down to 13th place if Bournemouth win. I watched the highlights of the game. So Man United had only 2 shots on target and they wasted their chances. Apparently the strikers are really underperforming on stats. Garnacho hit the woodwork. So United clearly not being able to use those chances. And even when you got a red, you need to use those chances even more. Clearly, so far, Joshua Zirkzee hasn't been very clinical. Marcus Rashford's pickup in form was clearly temporary because he had this fantastic game against Barnsley, scored against Southampton, and that seems to be quite it for now. So that's a question mark. And Spurs, 10 shots on target, dominated the game, should have had probably a 4th when Solanke went one-on-one. Actually, credit to Onana, fair enough, fair play Onana, man, you made some good saves, fair enough. You know, let's put our hands up in the air saying, well done Onana, fair enough. But overall, it's a disaster. You could obviously make the case that it's also in the individual players. I think it's unfair just to write this all down to Ten Hag and say, oh, he's rubbish, oh, he's a bold fraud. No, that's stupid. That's just stupid. Let's not get to hate. Let's be realistic. Individual players are letting him down. Recurring theme with Man United. Yet another manager. Clearly the players aren't performing for him anymore. Lots of individual errors we can see by Martinez, by De Ligt, by Dalot, who had a very bad game, by Fernandes and Zirkzee. We can't just pile this on Ten Hag. But again, we're coming back to the theme of Ten Hag's time. Once in a while, he gets these disastrous defeats. And you ask the question, how much more do you take? 6-3 losing to City, 7-0 to Liverpool away, 3-0 to Liverpool away, 4-0 to Brentford, 3-0 to Bournemouth at home. Then you lost to Brighton. Now you've lost 3-0 at home to Spurs, and more, and more, and more. 4-0 to Crystal Palace, lost to Fulham. We lost 1-0 to Crystal Palace at home. I mean, as a Liverpool fan, maybe I should not be laughing at that because we lost to Crystal Palace 1-0 at home and bottled the league. But nonetheless, my kind of argument is this is not good for Manchester United. In terms of replacements, no idea. Ruud van Nistelrooy, is he really fit? Can he be Man United manager? It's a massive step up. And let's not pretend like Ruud van Nistelrooy is a Champions League winner. So that the moment he steps up, I mean, Champions League winner as in he's not a manager who's actually gone on and proven himself. It's not going to be like Ruud van Nistelrooy just walks in and the United will win every single game. They'll win the Premier League. I still think that if you were to remove Ten Hag, the underlying issues are still the same. You've got a lot of players who are still there who should have left. You've got players who Mourinho said aren't good enough. 3 players apparently who Mourinho said weren't good enough. Like, do you see the problem? Players staying on, player power, players turn on the manager. Let's not write this down to Ten Hag. Let's see the broad picture. I'm not even a United fan, and I can see that if you keep on sacking your managers after 2 or 3 years and you keep on keeping the players, that's what you get. You get what? 13 years with no title. 13 years of overall, rather disappointment. You dropped off and you've not recovered. Tuchel, who apparently snubbed United in the summer. All right, so I'm not sure if he's an option. So massive question marks. It'll be interesting to see if he does get the sack tomorrow. We shall see. If he does get sacked, I will most certainly make a video about it and discuss the possible options. And then let's also talk about Liverpool's scruffy 2-1 win at Wolves away. Wasn't a great game. We won it. Salah with the pen. Fair enough. Wolves should have had they should have done way more. They were walking through our midfield quite a few times, but their finishing was poor. They just weren't going into the box. Seriously, they just were not willing to go in the box. I think they were very, very lackluster in attack. They should have done way better. Bellegarde, poor performance. I think just not going into the final third. It was like 20 minutes and Hwang Hee-chan, who came off the bench, had one touch. That's not right. Your striker needs to be involved. A defensive masterclass by Kanate scores a goal, and then a defensive disaster class to concede a goal. Very interesting. The midfield wasn't as watertight. I think McAllister had a mixed game. I think Szoboszlai didn't really have a good game. Grammage was sensational. Player of the match, 95% pass completion, 8 out of 8 duels won. Fantastic performance. Once again, this whole idea that Slot can't do more than Klopp. Well, clearly Slot is bringing something out of Grammage that Klopp wasn't able to do. Because we never saw Grammage as a sensational number 6 under Klopp. He was more of a backup reserve option. So let's credit Arne Slot. Let's credit his tactical thinking to bring in this young, promising player and use him. And he's now probably the best DM in the world. Seriously, this guy is our best player. His form is sensational. Performance after performance after performance, he's delivering 10 out of 10 performances. Even Anfield Agenda Craig Holden is giving him a 10 out of 10. That tells you miles. The fans love him. We're rating him. He's doing phenomenal. Very, very excited. He's a fantastic player. And I'm looking forward to seeing even more great performances. With Szoboszlai, meanwhile, not at the level he was at the start of last season. Loses the ball. The dribbling leads sometimes nowhere. I think there are question marks, but he will certainly, I think, get over it. He's got a lot of talent. Let's not forget, he's very young. He's 23 years old, I think, so he's got a lot of things ahead of him. Salah, as always, doesn't get a goal. He got a penalty, but then people will be like criticizing him, which is a joke. Come on. 4 goals, 4 assists in the Prem. He's our best player by overall talent. He's a fantastic player. He's still got it in him. He's a playmaker. He's got so much up the bag. Seriously, if Liverpool don't extend his contract, we will be absolute idiots, because I just don't see a replacement for him at all whatsoever. And by the way, contract situation is a mess, but more on that later. I will be making a dedicated video to Liverpool to discuss these ideas. But for now, looking at the Premier League, Everton also winning 2-1 against Crystal Palace at home. We saw Aston Villa draw and unfortunately sort of fall away from their title challenge, you might say. It wasn't really a title challenge. Drawing 2-2 to Ipswich Town. But overall, an interesting, obviously, and very, very... It's a fantastic, what do you mean? Absolutely phenomenal weekend for Liverpool. We are top of the league, indeed. Take this Man City, take this Arsenal. We are top of the league, top of the league. They all doubted us and we're here now. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Liverpool shall win the Premier League, I hope. And I wish you all the best, and I hope you have a great evening and a great rest of the week. Enjoy.